What's up, and Igor? Hit the like button, brother. What's going on? Not much, man. Just getting my walk in. Got into the fire department a little early today. What are you up to today? Oh, nice. Hit the like button for me, Igor. What you gonna have to eat? What's going on, guys? Hit the like button. Don't really have any specific topic today, so if you guys have a couple things you might want to talk about, we can. Chicken and macquarie with high fiber. Awesome, man. What's up, George? Spring football, let's get our steps in. Protein muffins and eggs started off. Where are you playing spring football at, Joe? Like your chapter 3 from the Conjugate series. Awesome, yeah. I appreciate it. We're going to work on the next chapter here pretty soon. In-season football training. Texas, Houston. Awesome. It's got to be already pretty hot down there, I'd imagine. I've been to Houston a couple of times. I rode through there on my motorcycle. I want to say in 2017. I had my bike shipped to Los Angeles and then rode all the way to Florida and then back up to Ohio to cover the southern states. I wanted to ride across New Mexico and Texas and Louisiana and all that. It was pretty fun. Stopped and saw the Alamo and asked if Pee-wee's bike was still in the basement. They didn't think it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. If you guys are ever on a travel trip, you know, like plane or motorcycle or car, there's a manual on the website called the Travel Manual, and it's basically the workouts I did while I was on my motorcycle. I just packed a handful of bands. Keep the editing style like chapter 3. You liked it, huh? Okay, I'll try to remember that. So, trading wise today, I think what we should talk about is somebody had asked me on the Patreon channel if benching one time a week was enough to get better. And the answer can be yes and no. I think some of it depends on your strength level. You know, I think the biggest thing that most people do when they first start is they think that more is better. They don't understand optimal yet. And they don't understand patience, you know. And it can be hard in this particular genre that we're in right now because you see so many of these younger kids getting so strong so fast. And I don't really know what the answer is. I mean, yes, I know the deadlift bars have gotten whippier, so that's helpful, and the knee wrap technology's gotten better, and it's advanced the numbers. But, you know, you got guys like Colton Edelbright that I don't know how they're handling those kind of weights at that age. Like, to me, at 24, I had just squatted my first 900, and when I picked that up, it felt like a fucking ton of bricks. So that's it. Thoughts on season Australian football program, 3/4 on field sessions. Let's see. Thoughts on in-season Australian football programming. What is this chat service stuff? See, that's the thing with this stuff is you don't even know what's bots or what's real. It's telling me now that we got some kind of channel strike. I don't even know how that happens. Community guideline breaches. I don't know what the community guideline breaches are. I don't know how you're community guideline breaching it when you're walking on a treadmill. 3/4 to 3/4. Australian program, 3/4 on-field sessions a week, lots of running. Should be half gym sessions a week. Max effort. Secrets 2 volume was your best editing team. Yeah, the problem with that Training for Life and the Conjugate Secrets 2 is that editing team that I had was so expensive that I couldn't afford to do them like that. I love the work that they did on that too. But the problem is the problem is that, people don't realize how expensive it is for top level editing like that. I was nearly spending almost all of my my profits and actually more to make those videos, hoping that they would explode and take off. And really what I found was high level editing, especially at the level that I was at, wasn't really helping the business much. I flew an entire media team out to do Stan's video, and it took us forever to recoup any of the money. What's up, Lonnie? What's going on? Thoughts on direct bicep work if you're deadlifting? Well, I'm not a big fan of doing bicep work directly anyway. I think the problem is when you do direct bicep work, most people have a neurological connection to the bicep. As hard as you possibly, it's hard to unwire. And so when somebody goes into max strain, they tend to flex their bicep, and that's how that stuff works. So in my opinion, your lats and your rear delts and your rhomboids and your subscapular muscles are oftentimes behind neurologically to the bicep connection because of what we do in normal life. And so doing more of it, I think, causes an issue. Direct straining. Most of the people that I've known that's had direct bicep injuries and they're gym goers, they tend to train biceps isolated. If you look at how the scapular functions, it's directly attached into the bicep tendon. And so when you're doing back work, if you're doing it correctly, the bicep should be a secondary muscle. But when you train it as an isolated primary muscle, I think it starts to overpower the back muscles, causing posture issues, shoulder issues, bicep issues. All goal, but the editing from chapter 1 was a bit hard to watch. Okay, yeah, maybe chapter 1 I might reshoot that. No problem, Igor, I appreciate it. So, again, you can train biceps, but a lot of people that I know that have really big arms or very functional arms tend to have a really strong back. And so I think focusing on bicep work can be an issue for sure. You want to be very careful doing that. So definitely do that. Let's see. Back to what I was originally talking about. So volume, or how many times a week you should train. So I think that can be dependent on your current skill level, right? If you're under a 250, 300 pound or 130 kilo bench, I'm not sure that doing more is going to be better long term. Now you might see more progress doing higher frequency training, but a lot of times the reason that you're that strong is because there's something technically wrong. There's a positioning problem. There's a muscle activation problem. And so the more volume you do with those inconsistencies, the more difficult it is going to be to perfect your technique. That's why I always tell people, coming on to online coaching with Wade or John or myself on the website is probably one of the most crucial things you can do, because when you first start, you want to make sure your motor patterns are A1 perfect, and then you can build from there. But what we find is a lot of people are either too embarrassed or, their ego is too high and they don't want to start learning from a professional immediately. And the faster you have a professional eye on what you're doing, the easier it will be to correct technical errors. The more ingrained you become in your technique on your own, which could be good or bad, becomes harder and harder and harder to break. We have a handful of people at the gym that are in this similar setting. If you go back and watch videos of Sarah, she used to be a distance runner, so she had a lot of different issues, but she never really was a lifter. So teaching her proper technique was pretty easy. It just took a long time. Whereas we got guys like David, who trained kind of hard by themselves, and Simon, who trained kind of hard by themselves before they came to the gym, were still fixing technical problems, because when it gets really heavy, what do they go back to? They go back to the amount of volume that they did in the wrong area. And so that's where it becomes super crucial to have people that are more technically advanced than you around at all times. What's going on from France? I understand all do you say, is it the good word? What's up, dude? I don't know. I don't know what you're asking, Karim. So, again, doing higher volume or more times a week could be detrimental to your progress, just because your technique may be off. And so, again, getting in touch with a professional is going to be a huge advantage. I actually just got a message from one of the online trainers, or people that are getting trained on online coaching. They just did a contest, and 9-day difference from their technique from when they started to now. It's funny because usually once we get people on online coaching, they tend to stay for a long time because the service is so good. And hopefully we can get the word out on that. We can take probably maybe 5 or 10 more people on online coaching. So if you're looking to get feedback from workouts and get your workouts custom tailored to you, go on to wenningstrength.com and go into online coaching. And I think that'll be a huge help for you guys. The next best thing would probably be coming on to Patreon channel. We have about 1,200 or so members on there. Switching programs really showed me how much I love and miss Conjugate. Yeah, Conjugate, in my opinion, is the most cognitive way to train, and for a handful of reasons. One, because you're rotating exercises, you're reducing burnout. It seems like in this particular climate, we have a lot of people that train very specific too quickly, and they don't have a broad sense of different exercises. Now, at first, that may show progression quicker because you're specifying the exact load. But over time, what you'll find is the psychological burnout of that is difficult. So Iron Hippo, I would definitely try to pop on our top tier Patreon and follow the workouts we do there. We test them. We test the exercises at the gym and the workouts before we give them to a week ahead before we give them to the actual Patreon workout. So you're getting a workout that's not just designed, it's actually ran through from people from beginners to advanced, seeing progress on all forms. And then, if you have any questions, you can just ask me. But yeah, I would say back to the frequency thing, I benched once a week for the first 5 years of training, and I got really strong. But like back to my original point, is that one time a week was around people that were way stronger than me, that knew more than me at the time, and wouldn't let me do anything technically wrong. Human Kinetics is supposed to send me some more chapters for final edit. So they've done their editing. They want to send it back for approval. I don't know how many chapters they have done, but they got a hold of me last Friday. So we're up at chapter 4. So I'm thinking maybe 5, 6, 7 chapter will come through. So hopefully that'll be good. Have you read 1020 Life? And are you on the same ideas of training? Me and Brian Carroll have similarities in training for sure. I have not read his book all the way through, but we were at our strongest at about the same time. So because we had affiliation with Elite FTS, Brian Carroll was never a Westside Barbell lifter, but I think that he got a lot of his better ideas from Dave Tate and modified them for what he needed at the time. But Carroll's not a dumb guy. He's pretty smart. So I'm sure the book has very good information in it. Yeah, the hardcover. Yep, we're making a hardcover. But you got to remember, Igor, that wasn't decided by me. That was decided by the publisher. Human Kinetics initially wanted to make it a softback, and I said I wasn't going to do it unless it was a hardback, just because I think it just has more of a status to it. That way, if I only ever wrote one book, I felt like I made a mark in the field. So it's getting close. I can't imagine why it's taken so long. I turned the script in May or June of 2023. Hardcover's epic. The problem is right now, I think, like a lot of publishing places are struggling because people just don't buy books anymore. And this newer generation just doesn't even read unless it's on a YouTube short or some kind of quick blog. The name of the book is, honestly, we had a couple of ideas, and now it's been so long. I know it's conjugate training, an educated approach, something like that. Conjugate training, an educated resistance training approach, something like that. Yeah, Vladimir is the man. I actually got to talk to him maybe 5 times. So Dr. Kramer, one of my professors at Ball State, was an adjunct professor at Penn State with Vladimir Zatsiorsky, and so I had a direct connection. And it's funny, I think I was talking on a podcast or something, and I remember the questions I was asking him at 23 to 24 years old. And now I look back and I wish I could ask more questions. I know he's still alive. He's really old. I think he's living out in California now. Thoughts on Joe DeFranco's Westside for Skinny Bastards for Beginners Wanting. DeFranco and I are really good friends. And DeFranco is insanely smart. But I think it's hard to discuss Westside Barbell tactics unless you've been there. It's kind of like one of the small things, and I don't disagree with everything that people talk about knees over toes. I don't disagree with everything that he says, especially with accessory work. But in my opinion, the knees over toes guy never had any direct connection or did seminars with Charles Poliquin. I did. And so when he claims getting this from Charles Poliquin, it's like second nature, right? So even though DeFranco and I are really good friends, DeFranco never got in the trenches at Westside Barbell to see actually how it was constructed. And so, but I think that if I were to listen to anybody that hadn't lifted at Westside Barbell for an extended period of time, DeFranco would be probably one of them, just because I know that he really thinks about what he talks about, and he's trained a lot of really high-level people, especially in the WWF. I slightly tore my right knee, hurt my other knee on a job last year, having terrible knee problems, arthritis, inflammation, physical therapy now. Yeah, it sucks. Just try to get your inflammation down, eat super clean. I'd have you come into the gym for an assessment. Windler 531 is a basic way to train, but I think it can be effective depending on your strength level. Windler and I we know each other fairly well, but we're not tight or anything. So to be honest with you, I haven't studied a lot of the 531. But Windler lived the life at Westside Barbell for an extended period of time, and he's pretty smart with training. So some of the things that he puts out, I'm sure, is great as well. Thanks, Matt. I'm a Jersey guy myself, following the DeFranco and Zach Evanish. Yeah, I get it, man. I've been over to both of their places, Zach Evanish's and DeFranco's. I did a podcast with DeFranco in 2019, I think. Best way to get to a 4-plate bench? Well, deadlift, that's a hard question to answer because I don't know how you're built. Like I said, the first thing I would do is come under control of our training so I can see how you react to the workouts, and then we could probably go from there. But with a 4-plate bench from the low threes, sometimes that can be a bumpy road. So what I would do is come on Patreon channel, follow the workouts for 4 to 6 months, see how your body reacts to it, and then we can kind of go from there. I started TRT half a cc a week to see if it would for me. Should I stay on it or off while having? Lonnie, I'm not sure what you're asking there, bud. A half a cc is not much, but if you have very low T, it can put you back in the normal range. So if you're in the low 200s, you take a half a cc a test, and this is individual, but on average, it should put you in the 5s or the 6s, depending on when you get your blood test and when you take your shot. But, Alpha Destiny, I don't know. I don't know if I've talked. I think I've been on his stuff before. If he reaches out, I'll get on his stuff. Stay on. Oh, should you stay on while having knee problems? Well, testosterone can be helpful with injuries. So at that dosage, I would say yes. Definitely want to talk to your doctor, but I would definitely. What's going on, Tim? If you guys can, hit the like button for me. We got 29 people watching, 33 people watching, only 10 likes. I need you guys to help me get this channel built up. Have you guys went and watched the latest video, the Forgotten Old School Westside exercises, the last 2 videos? They've been hitting pretty good. One of them's got 3,000 views with a 5,000 attention watch rate, which is pretty good. If we could get those, what's going on, Tim? Yeah, if we could get those bumped up, it's difficult sometimes. You're trying to put out quality information and get people better, and there's just so much pushback right now. I think the market is just so flooded that the normal person doesn't have any idea who to really listen to. And so I'm kind of relying on you guys to get that information out for me and push that thing, push the YouTube channel and the website and things that you can help me with. That would be amazing. But back to my original thought process is don't over volume things that you don't know are perfect technique. Don't over volume things when you don't know if you have muscle imbalances. And this is why we do assessments, to make sure people are on track. So had blood work done yesterday, so hopefully get that back in the next 5 to 8 days. That would be nice. Testing everything, seeing where I'm at. And that's the thing. If you guys need to get consistent blood work, is probably one of the key factors in maintaining health. And if you have, like in my side, you have really bad genetics, you got to keep an eye on everything and catch it before it gets too bad. So that's a huge factor as well. Livers are good. It's funny, as a family history thing, what I was having issues with. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, Lonnie. So if you want to come and have an assessment, kidneys seem to be fine. I'm past kind of the initial shock area of it, I guess is what you want to say, and we've been working towards, getting everything better and stabilized. But funny you ask, because as I started digging in family history, it seems like my dad's side of the family all had kidney issues. They just didn't live long enough for it to get bad. You know, like a lot of people don't realize this, but this year I would have outlived my dad already by 3 years. My dad died at 43, so I'll be 46 in October. So, you know, that side of my family has just got some major issues. My aunt on his side died at 33. My dad was actually born a triplet. One of them died at birth, which wasn't uncommon back then. But my uncle Denny is still alive. He's 70, 76 maybe, which is crazy because his health is terrible. It's been terrible a long time, but for some reason he just keeps living. But he's a good guy. But yeah, sometimes you just have cards that you got to play with. You know, my mom's side of the family, everybody's pretty healthy. So again, that's why I get blood work done every 3 to 4, maybe 5 months at most. Check everything, make sure everything's good. You know, go to the doctors, have them adjust stuff if needed. You know, and now at 46, I've already pushed my genetic limits and strength, and I still love to train, you know, but my body really likes to be at a lighter body weight as far as blood pressure and just overall health. I'm looking to get a few more weight plates. Which weight would be best, long bang for buck? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, standard plates, if you can find them, that's what I got at the gym. You know, you don't need anything super fancy. You know, I took a lot of my Alicos and my Avencos home just because they were getting banged up at the gym. And those were the type of weights that I had to have when I was in competition. So Lonnie, they took me off of TRT for about a year. It's funny, I didn't really lose that much strength, but again, I was taking about the same dosage you were taking. And some functions got better and then some functions got worse. So the kidney doctor put me back on it and it seems to stabilize. So everything, my body doesn't seem to fight 100 milligrams a week, which puts me at about 550 to 600 testosterone level when I get my blood work done. Puts my hematocrit, my hemoglobin, everything right in the middle, which is perfect. So, you know what's funny is when I was a junior, so it was my last year as a junior, I was 23, I was in the USAPL. So I was drug tested, drug free, squatted 826, walked out. And my mom, being a nurse practitioner, I was telling her, man, I am just fatigued and beat up all the time. And she's like, well, yeah, you know, you train really hard. You're going to be sore if you're trying to lift those kind of weights. And I asked her if she would send me into an endocrinologist at work, and she did. And the guy came in and was kind of baffled. And he looked at me, he goes, dude, your testosterone level was like 315. And I was 23. It was super low. And, you know, they didn't do anything about it at first, but they supplemented me on prescription and put me at about 750. And I did feel better for quite a while just because my testosterone was still in the natural range. And that's where I think you're starting to see with a lot of the USAPL drug tested lifters is they're not necessarily taking drugs. I mean, they are, but they're keeping it under a natural level because if I remember correctly, on drug testing, you don't get flagged until you're over like 950 or 1,000. So if you're taking supplementation that's putting you at, say, 910, you fly under the radar. And I think that's what they're doing now with a lot of these IPF guys. At least that's my thought. Because as I dug more and more into it, I'm realizing, well, you can be 900 natural. So it's difficult, you know. Like most people, they don't correlate. They just think taking drugs or not taking drugs, but there's variance in that because if you're under a certain limit, I'm not sure that you can test positive. So if you're naturally low T and somebody's naturally high T, the natural person with high T should theoretically have an advantage, correct? So I don't know. That's a tricky gray area for sure. But I think, Lonnie, depending on how long you've been on testosterone, why don't you pop on Patreon and let's talk some more about what's going on with it, and we can figure out maybe some strategic ways we can play with that. But I would probably go and just try to find standard plates. I got so lucky when I bought all my stuff. That shit was in the tank and wasn't very expensive, and now it's just insane. You know, steel costs have just went up so much. So no problem, Lonnie. If you guys can, go visit the ATP Labs website, atplabs.com. Most people, even the guys watching this right now, are probably magnesium deficient, which is affecting your sleep and your insulin. Just taking a little bit of magnesium a day, especially from a trusted source, is a life-changing event for sure. It's definitely a big deal. So if I had to name one supplement that most people should be taking, story about biomechanics. Well, it was stressful, I can tell you that. I remember I was a GA, so school was paid for, but I had to work crazy hours in the athletic weight room. And, you're working 50 to 60 hours a week in the weight room and then going to class and then training on top of that was basically a double full-time job. And I remember being so broke that I ended up taking, and there's a video if you go on YouTube and watch it, I think it's called the Epic Poop Story, but I ended up drinking a expired protein and had to go to the hospital for that. That was a brutal one. But go watch that video. It's a couple years old, but it's pretty crazy. Had to go to the ER, had to do some pretty gnarly stuff to have it cleared out, but it was pretty bad. Yeah, it was a cool video for sure. Well, I think it was a pretty good live for today. I appreciate you guys asking questions. I appreciate you guys participating and hitting the like button. Hopefully I'll see you guys on Patreon or Train Heroic or hopefully online coaching, and we can get some stuff figured out and get you guys the best products and services that we have right now on the market. So talk to you guys soon. Thanks.